Who has seen the Monte Cristo DoubleLift thing? Who has seen Monte Cristo DoubleLift drama? Yes, mofaka. All right, perfect. My chat is here. Okay, we're gonna go over this quickly before we get into the BDS. Okay, so Monty had a take, and this spawned a ton of fucking drama. This shit spawned a ton of drama, so I wanted to go over it. I listened to DoubleLift's video on it. I hated DoubleLift's video on it. I think that he's just... I think DoubleLift is just... I can prove to you that he is just a liar. So let's just go over it. So this is a take that I do not agree with, but this is what Monty's take was. He says, I think it's clear as day the G2 scrims were leaked to BDS. So this was about the BDS G2 lane swap. G2 lane swapped versus BDS, and BDS matched it in game number 1. They sent their bot lane top. So Monte Cristo says, I think it's clear as day the G2 scrims were leaked to BDS. No way in hell the BDS would have had their bot lane at red buff on blue side at 130 otherwise. It's funny that G2 scrim opponents think that the only way to beat them is to surreptitiously leak their lane swap strategies. So the reason why I don't think that BDS actually did receive leaks is because we just saw this in LPL. LPL game 4, this game right here, we saw a lane swap from NIP versus FPX, and this was like a really high profile game. Obviously FPX was super hyped because of Milky Way. This was in the game that actually eliminated FPX, and you can see what NIP did here. They full on lane swapped. Here. Jalal, who got chunked, they had a ward on blue buff here. So you can see that FPX is on blue side, and they are camping this top bush waiting for Renekton. Renekton ends up walking up, gets chunked, flashed on later by later he was flashed on by Aki, ends up dying, boom, first blood. Okay, so this ended up happening. So this is the reason why I don't actually think that it required leaks. Now obviously Monty could have information from people that it was actually leaked. I don't know what his information is. I just think that, like, based off what we saw, if there's no other factors, I don't think that G2 versus BDS ended up being the result of a leak. I think that what happened was, because the lanes were so bad for BDS, the lane matchups, or sorry, for G2, because G2 picked lanes that were losing so hard, which we'll see in a second, and this happened, then they were able to, BDS was able to clearly figure out, hey man, like, they probably are lane swapping in this game, because we just saw it in LPL. This is why I think that BDS was able to figure it out so quickly. So we'll go into the video that DoubleLift had on it. So I don't agree with the original take from Monty. I mean, I just think that like it could have been, like, sure, I guess it could have been leaked, but I think the more likely scenario, without knowing anything, like, I didn't actually talk to players and figure out if there were leaks or anything. From the outside looking in, I think that it's just like the reason why they could have came to the conclusion that they would match a swap was because we saw that game in LPL and this was fresh on their mind.
This is actually what I was wanting to check out, though. Sorry, back to this. Monte Cristo and BDS Adam Beef. I just saw this today. It's pretty hot. It's pretty hot. So this Reddit thread basically popped up, and I read it. No pun intended. And what happened was this. Apparently, G2 played BDS, and then Monty posted. I think it's clear as day G2 scrims were leaked to BDS. No way in hell that BDS would have had their bot lane at red buff on blue side at 130 otherwise.
This is what we just read.
It's funny that G2 scrim opponents think that the only way to beat them is to surreptitiously leak their lane swap strats. So, you know, naturally I'm like, okay, let's this is the first time I'm actually going to see this myself.
Yeah, because he doesn't watch other regions, right? So
let's go take a look at this particular game that Monty's talking about. He's saying that somebody leaked scrim strats to BDS, so they basically got an unfair advantage. So that made me feel like, oh shit, this must be like pretty intense, right? So we're gonna go to the early game, and the first thing that you're gonna notice, by the way, is this is like a really obvious lane swap draft. It's Jinx Lulu with Sion. How many times have we seen this? We saw it at Worlds. T1 did this.
So this is something that I actually fact checked. I thought I was maybe delusional. So he's just straight up lying here to make Monty look bad. It's the only reason why he's saying this. T1 didn't do this at Worlds at all. I actually went through and I actually looked at all of Zeus's games. I went through every single early game. He just never did this once at Worlds. Let me see, season 13 Worlds. So this is all Worlds main event. So from here up is Worlds main event. There was no Sion games even played by Zeus at Worlds. he actually did not play one, and I went through every single game, and I couldn't even find one of these games where they actually did the like Sion bot lane strategy, which is not a lane swap, by the way. There was no like lane swaps that were common, that we weren't in a meta for like a year where there was lane swaps. There was specifically one lane swap in the LPL, and that's what triggered other people opening their minds to the possibility of lane swaps. This didn't happen once. Click on every single game. I did this before, bro. I'm literally late to the stream because I spent 30 minutes going through every single game just to verify that he is in fact just lying on purpose. So this didn't happen once. And if you look at every single game, they don't even do like any fuck shit level 1 where they have people bot lane and they're like 4-manning bot. They don't do any of that, bro. This didn't happen one time. Like, I don't even know if it happened one time by any team at all of Worlds, bro. I actually don't know if this ever happened one time at all of Worlds. I just went through T1 games because this is his claim that T1 was doing this at Worlds. T1 just straight up laned Zeus into other top laners and he just like murdered them. And he was a smurf. Like, Zeus played extremely well at this World Championship. So this is just like lie number 1 from DoubleLift, right? The other part, I guess you can give him the benefit of the doubt, but this is just straight up misinformation to make Monty look like an idiot.
My team did this in spring 2023. So 1 year ago.
1 year ago.
Let me see if I can remember. It is 100 versus TSM 2023 spring.
I did some research before I actually like decided to make this video or go online. I did some research. I found a game where they did it. The game that he says they did it where they actually fuck up the strat, and then I'll show you an example of like what the strat actually is, because there's a big difference between the strats that he's claiming are this lane swap and what he's actually like saying is the lane swap. Like, there's a big difference between the actual lane swap we saw and what he's claiming is the same strategy, I should say.
Let me show you guys how old this particular strategy is.
Okay, here it is. So he's showing this game.
Like, we did this strategy where we actually failed to fully execute the strategy, but the strategy goes like this. This is a year old, by the way.
A year old. And it's like, dude, I don't understand why people can't just say what I like. I disagree with Monty, right? I think Monty like accused BDS of getting scrims leaked. He said it was clear as day. I disagree with that. I think that it wasn't clear as day. I think they could have just watched NIP FPX. That's the reason why I think that they were able to come to their senses. So Doubles is saying, look at his face, man. He's like, look, we did this strategy. This is the game. This is not a strategy at all. This is a completely different strategy to what was done by G2 and what was done by FPX and IP. Like I showed you, FPX and IP, it's an actual lane swap, right? It is a like true lane swap. Their bot lane is top. They're putting their bot lane on the opposite side. They're not matching their bot lane into the other bot lane to try to gain an advantage by 2v1ing. And the way that they do this is by having, a bot lane that is stronger at pushing, like Jinx out pushes Varus when it comes to hitting turrets. And they have a top laner that is able to actually catch waves where the other top laner is vulnerable to being dove, right? This is a lane swap. This strategy that he's calling a lane swap is not a lane swap at all. I don't know where this is where I guess I'm not sure if he's lying or not. I would assume that he's smart enough to know the difference between these two strategies, because this is very obviously like Sion is bot. The whole idea here is that you're like putting Sion bot, you're strong siding bot, you're splitting the map so that your bot lane can perma abuse bot lane, like enemy bot lane. I assume that he is smart enough to know the difference between this and when you send your bot lane top. And obviously there's a big reason why people did not do the lane swap for such a long time and why this is just coming up right now. It's because the top turret is significantly stronger and harder to take down than the bot turret. So if you are the team that is sending your bot lane top, it is very hard to ever be winning that because of the fact that the enemy bot lane is taking your turret so much faster than you're taking their turret. So this is a strategy that Doubles is saying is the same one. And obviously, if you watch, he won't watch the clip because he knows it's different. This is why I think he's lying, because he would show you how it's the same exact strategy if that was the point he's trying to make. But in the end, like, he doesn't show you the clip because this is what the strategy is. Like, you're telling me this is what we just watched. The NIP, like, FPX series, the G2 BDS, we're saying that this is the same thing? Man, maybe he is. Maybe he does think they're the same strat. I just don't believe it, man. And like this is like them failing the strat. I think this is like the first time they tried to do it. So I'll show you what the actual like strategy was. So I found another game where they actually execute it well. And this is like what the real strategy was. It's like there were some iterations made. They fucked it up the first time. The whole idea was that you have Scion that doesn't need farm to be useful, and you completely sacrifice your Scion to put your hyper carry in a position to carry the game. So what you do is you have your Scion start double jungling with your jungler at level 1. You give your jungle full experience, and then what you do is you dive the bot lane with the Scion, because Scion can die and still do damage under the turret, like because he has passive. So what you do is you like crash this, it ends up being the third wave. Yeah, it ends up being the second wave here, actually. You crash the second wave, and you time it with when your jungler is done with 3 camps. And then your Scion tanks, and he dies on purpose. And then when your Scion dies on purpose, your Jinx, like, he just tanks, he like continues dealing damage, the enemy bot lane just dies, and then you TP your Scion top. And you lane normally. The Xayah and Rakan lane into the Jinx Thresh. The Jinx Thresh do not go top here or anything. The Scion just teleports top, and then you play the game out normally. And your Scion is like fucked. He's completely out of the game, but their bot lane is out of the game. And you'd rather have your Scion be out of the game than the enemy bot lane being out of the game, right? So I'm listening to this.
BB said it was obvious after they picked Scion. I mean, bro, like, come on. This is over a year old. This is 1 year.
This is not over a year old. No one was doing, like, there's no way, right? Like, there's no way DoubleLift actually thinks these are the same strats, right?
And my team, we did this strategy, right? Where we full invade and we split map with Scion and we use him to dive. So anyways,
I wouldn't mind seeing them try and
let's watch what Monty's saying.
Give that control to Ice and Abrav, and at least with the early vision control.
And also the reason why I think that BDS did not get scrim leaks is because they played so horribly against it the rest of the games. Like they didn't know how to like guarantee the force. Whereas like if you actually had time to break this down, all you do is you invade enemy jungle, you drop 1 ward in lane, 1 ward here, and then 1 ward here. So you essentially ward the 3 entrances, the 3 ways that somebody could get to lane. Like they can walk through the lane, they can walk through this path, they can also walk through here, right? So you invade, you ward all 3, then you send your bot lane mid, and then if you don't see them showing on the wards, you send your bot lane bot. If they show on the wards, you send your bot lane top. That's how you solve it, right? It's very easy. And if you have practice, you'll actually be able to do this every single time. So that's the reason why I think that also BDS weren't like prepped for this. I think they saw it, they had it in their minds because it did happen fresh, but I don't think that they were super practiced against it or they received leaks. And if they did, they executed horribly about like in terms of answering it.
They will be aware of exactly what the plan of action is here, but in the
I think the reason BDS didn't get scrim leaks is G2 is in general way more likable as players. I don't know who would leak to BDS. I mean, that's true as well. Wonder, that's true as well. Like, I don't think there's leaks, but I just like hate, dude, I hate the lying bullshit because like the same shit always happens to me where I end up being the best. Like, thing is, Monty had something that's perceived as a bad take. Like maybe he's correct, bro. Like maybe we're all wrong and he actually has information that they did get scrims leaked to them. Like, I can't know for sure, but it appears that Monty has a bad take, similarly to how everyone shit on me recently for the Faker thing. But then it just becomes people like DoubleLift going out and just lying about you, just blatantly, and that's just acceptable because Monty is the bad guy in the situation and DoubleLift is on the right side, and I just find it so like annoying, man. It's so cringe. Like why do people support somebody who's just like factually lying?
Beat it up a bit.
So Shale going up towards his top side means that there's very little likelihood that Shale can really contest in towards his bottom side of the map to go for these jungle camps.
I wonder if they're going to counter invade. You have a lot of CC. Sion in the brush is deadly. Sheo spotted out through mid. G2 hovering around the top of the vision here. Watch this play as Sheo has skirted through the brush, so BDS might be able to collapse. Ice and Labrov are here. They don't expect it, and Mickey has to flash away. Now
like, look, BDS do react to this well. It's just like, for me, the thing is, if the NIP FPX series didn't just happen, if we didn't just watch that, I would be like, yeah, 100% they got scrims leaked. But we just saw that, right? So like, because of that, I'm like, they could have prepped for this. Am I not streaming on YouTube? I don't know. It says I'm streaming on YouTube on my OBS, but maybe I'm not. I can discard delay and try again. Who knows, man? I never know if the YouTube stream is actually running because my YouTube dashboard is kind of shit, to be honest.
Are in trouble. Flash from Yike. Caps tries to breathe, but he can't. Nor can Broken Blade. Decimating smash down. That is first blood.
Okay, so let me explain what's happening here. G2 is going for a split map lane swap. Their bot lane,
Which is literally not what you did earlier, right? Like, we're clear on this. You did not do a split map lane swap. You you hard force split map with your Scion in order to dive bot, sack your Scion, and then you lane normally literally the entire game. The intention of your strategy was to fuck over their bot lane, trade your top lane for their bot lane, and sacrifice your top lane in order to get your bot lane ahead. That was your strategy. And this whole idea is to dodge lanes. Like, they are actually lane swaps. So there was no part of his strategy that he showed that he's claiming is the same where there was a lane swap. The intention was never to mismatch the lanes. They wanted match lanes.
lane matchup is completely unplayable. So you have to,
I agree,
first understand what's going on here. This is like a horrible matchup. You don't usually pick Jinx unless you're looking to do something to get her out of the early game. And in this case, they're doing a lane swap. So BDS reads the lane swap. Like I said, this is over a year-old strategy. And the lane swap is for two things. It's to put the carry top laner behind against Sion, because this guy's not going to be able to farm against Sion. And the second reason why you would do it is Jinx Lulu gets shit on.
I mean, what he's trying to say here, like, you guys understand his point. I agree with his point. I'll just make it a little bit more clear. The whole idea is that Aatrox cannot catch the wave under turret the way Sion can, because Sion can sit there. Like, if you end up in a full split map situation, the Sion could either TP in or he can just show up to the turret, and even if you dive the Sion can get a little bit of farm. Like, he'll be able to get some farming experience by going to his passive and actually killing the wave, where Aatrox will just get dove. He'll just flat out die, and there's like no counterplay. He doesn't get anything from it. Whereas, like, yeah, the bot lanes will just still be trading farm, which is actually also an advantage to G2, because you want both bot lanes to trade farm
on by Varus Ashe. So you want to dodge this matchup early until you get to the point where it's stable. So pretty much like Zerker Greaves, it's pretty stable.
Deadly.
I didn't,
so that's
like,
why
I'm not sure about the specifics of the matchup. I'm sure he knows better than me. Sounds correct.
We're doing this. And BDS read that, and they sat in their jungle and countered the invade.
But like, the thing is, I don't, does DoubleLift know this happened in LPL? Because I don't even think that this is like this to me would not actually be a great defense. Like, no one lane swaps, bro. Like, no, like, lane swap is not a common thing. They weren't doing it a year ago, as I've shown. He says T1 did it at Worlds. T1 didn't even do the Sion strategy at Worlds. So, like, I don't even know what the fuck he's referencing about Worlds. I would love for him to respond to this and just clarify what the fuck he meant about T1 did this at, they did nothing even, they didn't do anything even like weird at Worlds, bro. They did zero fuck shit at Worlds. They laned straight up and just beat teams straight up the entire World Championship. So I don't even know what the fuck he's referencing with that. But then you look at this and it's like, dude, this is not an obvious situation unless we just had the context. Like, sure, there are tells, and like, if you're prepared for it mentally and you're like, people did do this recently, and like, randomly Lulu has the green tree second, and both of our lanes, it's not like just we have like a bot lane that can't lane. It's like the top lane is a bad matchup and the bot lane is a bad matchup. We picked both, and they, like, you know, they have green tree, whatever. If all of these factors are correct, sure, I could see like somebody thinking about lane swap, but the main factor is that we just saw it recently this week, so the players are thinking about it. And that's even what Adam ended up saying later on, is like, yeah, as a team we watched FPX and IP. That's why in game we were able to identify this. So I don't know, man. T1 did it in 2022, I'm pretty sure. 2022 Worlds, like, I mean, maybe he's referring to a different World Championship and not the World Championship that just happened, but like, that would be such a weird take. It's like, T1 did this a year and a half ago. Like, how would BDS, like, bro, Adam didn't even know who Xiaohu was when he went to Worlds in 2021. You realize this? You realize that when they asked Adam who Xiaohu was, he was like, is he good? That was his comment. He had no idea who Xiaohu was. Well, this is when Xiaohu had just won MSI and Spring, and people were talking about him as one of the best top laners in the entire world. He said, is Xiaohu good? When they were talking about, bro, you're going to be playing against Xiaohu in your group.
I got a lead this way. Okay. I don't think it's that crazy. That's that, like.
Well, actually, I don't. You know what? I want to even check that. Games of Legends, Zeus. I want to even check if he played one Sion game, bro, in 2022 Worlds, because people just say so much bullshit. Like, dude, there's no way that he actually did this in 2022 World. Maybe he did. Jax, Aatrox, Yone, Jace, GP. Like, there's none of these champions that he would have been doing this with. Maybe he didn't Gragas get. I would have remembered it though, right? I'm pretty sure that that's also bullshit. I would have to go through and verify if T1 actually did this in 2022 Worlds. I think you're probably just a DoubleLift fan that's making up bullshit just to like try to defend him. But I would have to go through all these games. Anyways, I just went through the most recent World Championship and that didn't happen. But man, it's like so fucking triggering. Like it's always this thing where like if somebody has a bad take, you're just allowed to literally lie, and I fucking hate it, man.